Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube world, what is pop-a-lockin'? What's dropping, baby? It is time for the what I eat in a week, yeah. What I eat in a week, yeah. What I eat in a week. Before I actually start this portion of it, I'm gonna insert this short here because I'm gonna start presenting like what I eat during my OMAD as well because it's still included in what I eat in a week. It's just gonna be a little different. So, what's going on, guys? Today is my third time attempting to OMAD. So I do OMAD once a week. Now let me show you what my finishing meal for OMAD consists of. Starting off with some Spudling Gold potatoes. There's a pound of this. Just Bare spicy chicken, an entire package. I forgot the weight. I think it's a little bit over a pound. 12 ounces of thin asparagus, and a couple ounces of shrimp. Now, I was kind of picking at it. And of course, to finish it off with the diet caffeine-free Pepsi, and the dog right there. I'll put the macros of everything in the description of this video. OMAD has been something I've been trying and something got accomplishing. So 23-hour fast with 1 hour to eat. So I'll go ahead and dive into this fantastic meal. Alright, we'll tap it out. That was a lot of food. I'll show you guys the damage. See here? That's what I did. Shrimp, chicken gone, half the asparagus, and then a little bit over half the potatoes. I'll catch you guys in whatever I upload next. So that's basically what I eat for that portion. So obviously it's going to change every week, but I figured I could have that versus like eating for a whole day of just separate stuff. I could just have the OMAD meal. But yeah, I say let's go ahead and get into the normal meals for the week. So we're still for breakfast, lunch, and then dinner, of course. So all of these are actually be some pretty creative meals too. I hope these meals will help incorporate into your diets if you choose to be on one. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so for breakfast, these ingredients may seem familiar to you, but we're gonna be making my frittata, but this is gonna be a different variation of it. So this is gonna be a meatless one. This is for all my vegetarian folks out there. So of course we have our cheeses. Actually, it's gonna be technically it's gonna be a 3-cheese frittata. And then we changed the vegetable up because unfortunately they ran out of spinach due to this like winter storm fiasco or whatever, because they were hyping it up here as like, oh, we're gonna get like 22 inches of snow. We ended up getting like 3 inches, but we got like an inch of ice on top of that, so we're kind of stranded at the same time. So but let's go ahead and see what we can do to get this guy loaded up. So it's pretty similar to before with the other frittata recipe, but we're going to be adding different ingredients in here. So we got our food scale out here. Make sure to zero it in when you put your what am I gonna say, your bowl on here. And then the first thing we're gonna do is add our egg whites. So make sure you shake them up. And I usually do like a third serving of this whole container. So we got 32 ounces in here. There we go, good enough. 10.65. So yeah, I forgot I have 2 of these containers. So I use basically a third. So 10.6 ounces of egg whites. So I'll have to figure out the macros, obviously, at the end of everything. So next we have fat-free cottage cheese. Now there are no eggs in this because I couldn't find any eggs. So if you wanted to add a little extra fat, you can use low-fat cottage cheese or even whole milk cottage cheese for that little extra fat content and some calcium. Or no, well, calcium's in this regardless. But if you want a little extra fat content, then go with low. But I have fat-free here because I'm going to use my fat content from my other cheeses. So we got, what's it, 24 ounces of this guy. So 48 total, 8 ounces of cottage cheese. Now what I did here, I actually pre-blended this. I forgot to zero this in, but 10.6 plus 8 is 18.6, so that's what we're looking for. So I actually pre-blended this cottage cheese. It's nothing really against it besides it mixes better, unless you want like small curdles in your mixture. So But they're exactly 8 ounces. Look at that. So I have 2 containers of these because I make 6 servings, but everything's for 1 serving, of course. But for cottage cheese, I've actually been like a huge hater of cottage cheese. But once I like started eating it and using it, it's actually pretty good. So the next thing we do, I'm actually gonna be adding the extra fat content. It's gonna be from part skim mozzarella cheese. So we have a pound of it here, and then there's 80 calories per serving. So we need 2.66 servings, and 1 serving is 28 grams. So that basically came out to being 75 grams of cheese. And then we're gonna set this to the side because we're gonna need it later. And then last but not least, of course, we have to season this. So I just use salt, pepper, and garlic. Seems to be a good combination. This is just Kinder's The Blend. Just salt, pepper, garlic powder, that's all this is. Once you get that all put in together, I like using a whisk, or an egg beater, to basically just incorporate everything. So when you do this, just be sure that everything gets mixed super well in there. And blending that cottage cheese will actually help with the mixture too. So the most important thing is combining the egg and the cottage cheese together. But you don't want to do it too much or else it'll get like really fluffy. So we just want a very incorporated mixture, but not trying to get that much air in there. So, but something like this is fine. We want it pretty runny. Next thing we got going on here is a small pan, and then all you're gonna do is just pour this on top, or pour it in like this with your egg and cheese batter. Then you get something like this. So you can go ahead and put it in there like this, or you can add toppings to it. So I have reduced fat feta cheese. I absolutely love feta cheese. Feta cheese is like one of my favorite cheeses in the entire world besides Parmesan. So we're gonna go ahead and sprinkle in 2.5 ounces of feta cheese in here. That should be about half this container actually. Oh, okay. Perfect. 2.5 ounces or half of this container of feta cheese. And then I got tomatoes here. I mean, they're tomatoes. If you really wanna, you know, measure out tomatoes, fine, because they don't really add that much value to calories. But unless you want to count it like fiber content or something, then you could do that. But I'm just gonna do is take some shears, kind of cut this guy in half, and just place them in here. I'll probably use like a third of this entire container. Just chop in place. Oops. Unless something like that happens, but trying also to be careful not to cut my fingers off. So, but yeah, I'll go ahead and do this guy real quick, and then once I'm done with this, we'll move on with the next steps. We're gonna oven to 375 here and add in our frittata. This should take about 15 to 20 minutes. Specifically, what I want to be looking for when this is cooked is the edges to be pretty golden and no liquidation on the top. So unless, you know, put tomatoes in there, it could be a little liquidation, but once this guy is done, we'll come back and check up on it. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are finished baking the frittata. And this is what she looks like completed. Looks like a pizza. Kind of crazy to think about. So it's gonna puff up like this because, you know, it's egg whites and cottage cheese, but you can tell here that the edges can almost pretty much come out. But I like eating that directly from the pan, but you could plate it and do whatever you want to it. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the frittata. So let's go ahead and eat her up. Pause. It actually smells like pizza, which is really funny. But I mean, there's mozzarella cheese in here. There's feta cheese, cottage cheese. So it's like a 3-cheese frittata. It kind of looks like a white pizza almost. So, but yeah, I think without further ado, let's get us a scoop here with some tomato action. It is steaming, by the way. So let's go ahead and dive in. besides it being scorching hot, this tastes amazing, man. I'm gonna be honest. This is probably one of the best frittatas I've ever made. It tastes like what would be the inside of a lasagna. So this is great, man. Just absolutely fantastic. And look how big this is too. I mean, if you can't eat half of this, or you can't eat this entire thing, eat half of it, you know? Would I consider this low calorie? Me? I guess it depends on your diet, but oh yeah. This is exceptional. Oh my goodness. Go ahead and chow this guy down, and then we'll get back together once we go over the macros. Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube world, welcome to the lunch portion of the video. Now I got something extremely exciting to show everyone how I'm going to be making for lunch. Now I did a couple steps ahead, but I'll kind of explain how I get to this in a minute. But let me show everyone how I'm going to make my slow-cooked beef chimichurri. At least for the vegetable portion of it, this is what I use. So I have 3 zucchinis here for cooking purposes, nothing else, you dirty-minded hooligans. And then I have a couple bags of habaneros. I think there's 5 in each for the habaneros. And then I have 1 whole giant red onion. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be chopping these guys up, and then I'm gonna be putting them on a plate. I've cut zucchini before on there, but basically all I do, chop one end, the other, put that away, and then I usually chop it in half like this, then use the flat side, and then we kind of want bigger chunks, so you're just gonna chop along like this. Bigger but thinner pieces. So each serving is going to have a half a zucchini. So once your zucchinis are done, put that over there, and then essentially just do the same thing. Like that. Zucchini's super easy to cut up, but if you would like to do more dices, they're dice pieces, you just cut it and then cut it half again, and then you can do that and you get more cubes than half slices, but however you guys like to do it. So I'm gonna finish cutting these other 2 zucchini up, and then we'll move on to the peppers and onion. Cool, so once your zucchinis are cut up, this is a lot of it, so I'm gonna put it to the side and get myself another plate. And then we're gonna chop up this onion. I like doing thicker slices. So all you gotta really do is just cut off the ponytail, like so. I mean, I've cut onions. Oh, actually I forgot this guy, so I'll do that a little bit later. Shove these guys in here like so. Cut the root off, put it here like so. So basically I just cut super thick strips like this, because when it cooks in the chimichurri, it'll have nice long strips when you eat it with the beef. These spicy boys. Pretty much all I do. Cut the tips off. Definitely want to remove those seeds, unless you like the spice. So you kind of, I like peeling them in the bag because I don't want my fingers all up in there. And then once you get most of the seeds out, you can just chop it like so. Although these have a very weird shape to them, so just be careful when you cut them. And then this little bit I like throwing here too. And then chop them in half to get those strips, and then put the strips in there. So go ahead and cut the rest of these peppers up, and we'll bounce back how to get this guy going. All right, next steps we got going on here. We're gonna plug in the trusty handy crock pot here. Now if you have a cover, those are always nice. I think I ran out actually, so I don't have any. But so now what we're gonna do is we're going to add our mixture here. So this is my beef chimichurri mixture, and essentially what's all inside is top round and a bunch of different seasonings. So I'll go ahead and just put on the screen basically what I put in here. So I basically marinated it for 24 hours. So we're gonna turn this guy to low, and then we're gonna essentially just dump this whole thing So you want to make sure, like the seasoning clump right there, you want to make sure you want to get that in there. Take our vegetables and go ahead and dump them in here, like so. And then our zucchini, just like that. So then what we're gonna do, we're gonna pack all that in there. And we're gonna let this kind of wilt a little bit. So we're gonna put the lid on top. Set this over to the side. Clean up any kind of mess that you have. Essentially, we're just gonna let this guy cook for maybe a couple hours. What we wanna do is condense the vegetables down and kind of have the meat tenderizing and all those flavors going around before we stir and mix everything in. So we're gonna let this guy cook for about 1 to 2 hours, and I'll come back if the time gets updated with anything, and then we'll continue on with the next steps. So I went ahead and did this already, but after a couple hours, you can kind of lift it and then take it your spoon and or a mixing utensil and just kind of mix this guy around, so that way we at least get the vegetables, the correct seasonings with the meat, and then it'll be a lot better tasting. Now, I recommend stirring this maybe every other 2 hours or so, because this thing should be done within like 8 to 10 hours. So just keep an eye on it. So a couple things you want to look for are the vegetables to start being a little bit translucent, as well as the meat turning into like a brown color for being cooked, obviously. So, but yeah, and stirring around every couple hours, which just kind of incorporate all those flavors in there, and it'll get you a really great chimichurri dish. So, I'll come back once this finishes up, and then we can start meal prepping. Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube world, as you can see, we have everything prepped out. Now, I ran out of bowls. It comes with 5, so I had to get this one for 6. But the finished product we have here, it looks like stew. But we want to keep that sauce, or that liquid, because that's going to be our sauce. So all we're going to do really is just give this one last stir. As you can see, the zucchini, it's gushy looking, the onions are translucent, and the habanero peppers are getting a little translucent themselves. So this is exactly what we are looking for. Now, again, you can use a spoon with a strainer on it, or you can use a one with it, because I like, again, this liquid is basically your sauce, so it's going to give you even more flavor when you go into it. But just be careful, because it will solidify. So all we're going to do is take this and put it into our bowls like so, and then you'll be good to go. Now, I will admit, if you don't have or if you have a crock pot, but you want to enhance the flavor a little bit more, you could even take these, put them, the bits and the zucchini and the peppers and habanero, on a skewer, and you can actually grill them. That's also a really good option you could do too. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill up the rest of these bowls up, and then I'll get you guys when I'm done with that. Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube world, the chimichurri is completely done. Although I'm not gonna lie, it does look like a stew, as you can see in right here. Nice, spicy chimichurri. This is the only thing I'm going to be having, no rice or anything with it, because for lunches, I like to keep it more veggie and meat-based and not adding any extra carbohydrates that could potentially drain me out later through the day. So meat and veggies is kind of the only thing I have going on here. But I say let's go ahead and give this guy a try. Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube world, we have completely made our dish. Although, to be honest, I actually made this the day before because of timing and so on. But as you can see, we have the chimichurri here. This came up more like a stew because I cooked it in the crock pot. But if you want to be really creative with it, you could put these on skewers and grill them, and they'd be like really good. So, but this, I've been looking forward to this since yesterday, man. This smells amazing. So we're gonna get some zucchini, some onion, and habanero here, as you can see right here. Let's go ahead and take ourselves a bite. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, it tastes like beef stew a little bit, but with like hints of cilantro and red onion and so forth. If you make it like this, it's definitely gonna come out more like a stew, and it's a little spicy too because of the habanero peppers in here. But the zucchini gives it like an extra vegetable thrown there. Although traditionally, I don't think chimichurri has zucchini in it. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead, chow down on this, finish it up, and I'll catch you guys with the macros. Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube world, welcome back to dinner time. Now, dinner time is going to be fantastic. What I'm going to be making for dinner is probably one of my favorite dishes of all time. That is fried rice. Now, we're going to be making it a little bit different and a little bit more interesting. So we're going to be making oilless fried rice. And essentially, all you're going to need is a non-stick pan. I like using a wok, not because it's traditional, but you can get the edges heat up more than the center, so when you mix it, it kind of cooks more on the side. It's kind of what we need. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to add egg whites. So we need to add 10.6 ounces because I have 4 of these, and I'm used egg whites for also my breakfast. So essentially it's a third of this carton. Now I've used this pretty much a bunch, so I can eye out what 10.6 is. Looks something to be like that, because then I'm going to use the remainder of the carton for breakfast tomorrow. So it's not completely hot yet, but you kind of want to let it heat up. And all you're really going to be doing is you're just going to stir around the egg whites like so. And when it gets on the edges, you can kind of scrape them, but as they'll start heating up, it'll come off. This guy kind of cooked around. We'll go on to the next steps. Next we're going to do is we're going to add some of this. So this is our rice. It's a protein brown rice, quinoa, and chia seed combination. 10 grams of protein per serving with 12 grams of fiber. I think the total is like 580 calories with 24 grams of fiber. So I'm just going to crush this before you add it in there so it's easier to break up. Essentially, you're just going to plop this guy in here. Now, if you don't like this combination, white rice is obviously acceptable. And we're just going to mix this guy around with the egg. Kind of get this all going. It's pre-cooked rice too, which is very important in fried rice. You add pre-cooked rice. If you make your own, just make sure it sits in the fridge for about 24 hours before making your fried rice for the best results. And good thing about rice too, it'll actually help absorb a lot of the egg moisture. So, because your eggs will get pretty runny and they'll start getting a little liquidated. So you just want to cook those through all the way until you don't see any liquid. And then you add your rice in. Now, next step we're going to do is we're going to add some of our wet seasonings. I have some minced garlic here. We're just going to add not too much of that. And then I have some minced chilies here. We're going to add a little bit of this as well, just to add a little spice to it. And then I have minced ginger. So we're going to add a little bit of ginger to this. Not too much. So once you add your wet ingredients, you're going to take everything and you're going to mix it together. Incorporating all that flavor. If you don't have any of the wet ingredients, dry ingredients work just as fine. But the wet ingredients help because it adds a little bit of moisture and it combines with the egg and rice itself. So you're just going to stir this guy around. But I think we're at the point now where we can actually use the wok for its purpose and just start flipping. The thing about fried rice is you want to continuously be stirring, continuously cooking this around. If you want to give this some extra crisp edges though, you want to push it to the side and then let it sit for a little bit. And then it'll start crisping, and then maybe let it sit for about a minute or so, and then you just kind of combine everything again. So if you do not have great flipping skills, then I don't recommend flipping it. I recommend doing this. But if you can control the flipping, which is you push forward and pull back, push forward and pull back. I got chia seeds, so it's going everywhere, but if you use normal rice, then make sure you have a dominant hand. Push and pull back, push and pull back. you know, I got chia seeds flying everywhere now. So quinoa and chia seeds flying everywhere. So once you got this all done, we're gonna add our vegetables and protein now. So we're gonna add our chicken. By the way, the chicken, the secret recipe for chicken, if you boil it and then let it sit and cool off for a little bit, and then add it back in, you'll be golden. And then I diced up a yellow onion or a sweet onion. We're just gonna grab a handful of that. And I chopped up some raw broccoli. We're gonna grab a handful of that and put it in here, like so. And again, we're just gonna flip and mix like this. And then we're just gonna let it just cook. You want the onions to start getting a little translucent. And the chicken's already cooked, so we don't have to worry about that much of an issue. But as you can see here, this is a ton of food. And then we'll get into the next ingredient here in just a second. So once this starts kind of incorporating and everything starts cooking down, I'll move on to the next steps. All right, so we got most of our stuff cooking here. As you can see, just flipping around, stirring it. We're seeing a little bit of the onions starting to become a little translucent, because if you dice them, they'll cook really quick, and that's exactly what we want. Now, what is one of the secret ingredients for fried rice, you may ask? They use it in hibachi, and it's not MSG. It's actually butter. Now, what I gotta tell you, there's a little bit of a hack. Companies make a butter seasoning, which is really cool. So this is salt, pepper, dehydrated butter, essentially, and garlic. And there's also a couple other, like, you know, seasonings in here too. But if you can find yourself one of these, this guy too, so Kinder's actually makes it. So again, like 0 calories, although they just round it down. It may be like 4 calories per serving, but there's not like a huge amount of like things to worry about calorie-wise in there. But this is the Lidl brand, I believe. So we're just gonna take a heap full of this, and we're just gonna coat our rice like this. Get you a good amount of butter, garlic seasoning. This will also dye some stuff, so it'll make your fried rice turn a little yellow. There may be turmeric in it, I don't know, but so once you get that season in there, you're gonna mix it around. Like, it's starting to turn the chicken a little yellow, so just kind of be cautious about that. We're just gonna stir this around again, and then if you feel like it needs more, then feel free to add a little more. Just be cautious though that it does still have calories in it, even though it says 0. So, but your salt, pepper is also going to be in there, so you don't worry about using salt and pepper. So, but yeah, we're gonna stir this guy around. As you can see here, everything is starting to cook, and we're looking massive, baby. Give it a little flip, couple flips here. If I didn't have this quinoa and chia seeds in here, it would look a lot cleaner and not have things go everywhere. So we're gonna do the little searing technique. So how I do that, I'm gonna push everything to the side, and it's gonna sit for a little bit. So you let it rest like that, essentially, and then for a couple minutes or so, and I'll start crisping up the edges. So once I get all that situated, we'll come back and add our very last ingredient. The very last ingredient we're going to be needing for this is our soy sauce. Now, I have gluten-free soy sauce because I'm gluten intolerant, but fun fact about gluten-free soy sauce, it's 10 calories with 2 grams of protein in it. So soy sauce actually passes the protein test, which is crazy. Now, if you're worried about like super high calories and sodiums and so forth, coconut aminos is a great replacement. So we're gonna go ahead and add a couple splashes of this guy. That was about 6 tablespoons worth, I would say. And then we're gonna stir this guy all about. Normal soy sauce doesn't have as many grams of protein in it versus gluten-free, so If you wanted to build a little bit more protein, then I would get the gluten-free one. But if you're worried about sodium and calories, then coconut aminos is a great substitute, especially if you're gluten intolerant like I am. So, but I found that out and I thought that was pretty neat. So we're gonna let this guy kind of crisp up since we have that soy sauce in there now. And what's gonna do is it's actually going to help caramelize it a little bit. So it gives us that nice crisp edge. Fun fact. So once this guy is done cooking, it's gonna be a last step. I'm gonna plate it and then we're gonna go get the taste test review on this guy. Ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube world, we have completed the fried rice. This is what she looks like. Oh my goodness, this looks absolutely fantastic, man. I love fried rice. It is probably one of my favorite foods of all time. So let's go ahead and get a good heaping of chicken, a good heaping of broccoli, and then we'll show our serving here as it falls into my hand and it's burning me. God, it burns. Go ahead and take a bite. That's pretty good. Nice soy flavor. The chicken has got really good texture to it. The broccoli, onion, the spiciness from the chili, the garlic, and even a little bit of the ginger. Now, a little bit, because it is oilless, it is a little bit dry, but if you want to add some lubrication to it per se, then feel free to spray some avocado oil in there. But just be cautious that as you spray oil in there, it'll build up. So it is a little dry, but you can always add a low-calorie sauce to it. I would add the teriyaki ginger sesame sauce from Taste Flavor Code, but I'm actually out and I need to order more. So it's a really good way to use it. It's still good overall. Super high in fiber, good in protein. Although this amount of food would not consider this low calorie. So, and we'll explain that a little bit once we go over the macros. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this guy up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube world, we have ended the day with all that I ate for the day. The week, here are the macros, and yeah, they are a lot. So we're definitely gonna be cutting down some stuff. And I think the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm eliminating that rice pouch. It was not very good. I think it was like pre-seasoned or something too, and I wasn't feeling it. I think I'm just gonna eat it like stir fry style. So just do the chicken, broccoli, onion, and the egg. I have rice. I just don't really want to cook it and then save it and so on and so forth. So I think we're gonna pass up on the rice portion of it. And then regarding the frittata, I may start off just eating half of those servings. And then if I get full from it, cool. If not, then I'll just eat the rest of it. But I think that's my game plan moving forward. Expect the calories to drop by like 700, 700 to 800 by doing that. Because the frittata will go from 700 to like 350, and then the rice will go from like 1,000 to like 400 and some, because the rice itself was 580 calories. So I think I'll be good because the breakfast and the lunch will fill me up pretty well. So, but if it's a little too late, then what I may do is I'll do the full frittata and then eat the chimichurri, and then I'll just cook the dinner portion with just the chicken and broccoli and onion, which I may do that actually, because then it leaves me about like 1,900 calories. So I think I'm gonna do that. But ladies and gentlemen of YouTube world, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope these meals inspire you to make these on your weight loss journey, if you choose to be on one, of course. And without further ado, thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, especially the ones that want to start their journey. These videos are basically me recording what I do, and hopefully they'll inspire you to start yours or to incorporate a lot of what I do into yours. Comment positive or negative. We're on the internet, so we gotta learn to take it. Without further ado, I'll be heading out for the rest of the night, and make sure to stay disciplined, stay focused. Catch you guys on whatever I upload next. Peace.